Hello, my name is Ralph Hodgson, and what you're going to hear from me in this presentation is how we deal with various lineage and traceability mapping that we can achieve in TopBraid EDG, which is an enterprise data governance tool. For that purpose, I like to be able to first set the stage to say what kinds of things is Lineage about. Well, it's about who is using what, for what purposes, what kind of data is flowing, when it's needed, where it goes, and how the data might look like. This particular picture is from a presentation made by one of our customers. So I want to demonstrate the LineageGram using an example that is an example from the financial domain, and it's an example that has to do with the use of lineage models and derivation maps for compliance reporting. Particular compliance reporting we're talking about here is the SEC FRY9C compliance that has to do with which assets a bank is holding for assets for sale and which assets are they holding which are held to maturity. HTM in the latter case, AFS in the former case. There are two parts to this. The first part will introduce the kinds of business terms and data technical enterprise assets that we're busy with. And the second part will actually be to get into the lineage model, show the visualizations, and deal with the navigations that are possible. So I've arrived here in the home page of TopBraid EDG, and you see that there are a number of asset collection types listed on the left here, everything from glossaries to ontologies and the different kinds of assets that are involved. Now, for a business user, such a division of things may not be the most obvious thing to want to go after, so we have this friendly Google-like search the edge, and we might start this by typing in assets for sale acronym to see what kinds of things we know about that relate to AFS. And indeed, we arrive at a list of things of various types. We have business terms, we have reports, we have some software programs. Now, the thing to note about this is that we're not just looking at the glossary term, we're also looking at how it's picked up by various reports, by various transformations that are going on. In terms of illustrating the kinds of assets that are involved in any lineage of this kind, we can click on this icon here and it will produce a term map. The T icons are term usage icons, and we can just make this a little bit clearer by expanding the labels. And one of these will be customer ID. And to find that, I could type this, in fact, into the search. This is an autocomplete search that lets me get straight to the node that I'm interested in. So we're seeing here an icon for a database column. And if I were to explore that by clicking on this link, which indeed I'm doing, we will generate a traceability of this downstream to the business activity of compliance reporting, or regulatory compliance reporting. Again, I will expand these labels to the extent that we can. And what I want to point out about this is there are different icons representing different kinds of assets. So the term is no longer in view because we went from that to the column that was involved, but now we see a program. This could also be a program within a program. It could be a business application, and we will show examples of that as we get into part 2. Here we see a report, and here we see a schedule, which is a kind of information asset, and that is of interest to this business application. Now, if we were to kind of fast forward into looking at this from a lineage point of view, just to give you an idea of what is going to happen in part 2, I again can drill further into this, and now we're going to look at the lineage and see that this thing is involved with other databases. So we see that we have a TopBraid bank database here, and we see we have a securitization database. If I choose to go into this one and explore the nature of this link, we can do that by clicking in the following manner, and now it's generating what we call a derivation map. What the derivation map is doing is plotting the kinds of things that were behind the inference that happened over in our knowledge engine over that graph that we came from. And we can expand all of these things by hitting an expansion button here, and we get to see that there are several inputs involved in this program here. And let me just zoom that out a bit. And if this got even busier than this, we could use the scrolling principles that are involved in this node. And let me just demonstrate that quickly. I can click on this link, and now we can scroll in this manner. If we got to hundreds of columns, this can be organized by having more connections in here, and pagination ideas would allow us to control the scalability of this. And this particular view is also illustrating some policy compliance. We are seeing here that this database has policy compliance with asset sales retention policy. There's a backup policy that this is compliant with, and indeed there's the FRY 9C regulatory compliance policy that the organization has formulated in order to have its governance processes work in an appropriate way. So I was exploring with you some of the lineage things that can happen here in terms of picking on a program. But what if we were to pick on a business activity? Might that be interesting to also have lineage on? What kinds of things support this business activity? So we select that, and we hit the drill down button, and now we get a depiction of the lineage that is involved in producing or supporting rather that particular business activity. It's not too different from the other picture because there was already quite a lot going on for the for this particular program. In this part one, what you saw was how we can move from a SEC business term held in the glossary to the mappings that are being made to various data, technical and enterprise assets. And we explored how those data assets can be involved in report lineages. In fact, we went further and showed how business activity can also be a starting point for exploring lineage. So this we did by first having a view of how the term was taken up, as you see on the left here, and we got into various derivation maps. So that concluded part one. In part two, which is a separate video, what we will get into is how the upstream and downstream dependencies can be further explored, what kinds of navigations are possible within and from the lineage models, how this drill down gets us into various views that deal with scalability management, and then how we can navigate back to our various editors. I want to thank you, and I want to offer you some links here to where you can find out more, or you can email us at info@topquadrant.com to discuss what kind of governance solutions you're looking for and how to evaluate what you've been looking at here. All of these links are easily accessible on our website. So thank you, and with that I shall end part one.